Alright, in this video, we're going to talk about the many applications of the list global variable. And no, I'm not going to go through all the applications of the list global variable in one video. As a matter of fact, if you head over to my website, www.bcraftmath.com, that is a new web address. It's the same website, but underneath the Android tab, for those of you just getting started with KLWP, head on over there and scroll on over to these tabs and look for Globals Galore. The list global variable, I have done many videos in the past. These are not even all of them because I have other list global applications that are scattered throughout here as well. But I encourage you, if you're just getting started with KLWP, check some of these out to become comfortable with the list global variable. Now, the application I'm going to show you in this particular tutorial may not be beneficial to you, but you're still going to learn a lot of things about how to name your globals or have them named so you can easily refer to them. I'm going to talk about indexing your list globals. If you don't even know what I'm talking about, you might want to hang out for that. It's actually a pretty cool application. And let me just go ahead and show you what I'm talking about. I had this center square here that's blue, and then I have a red and a yellow. If I press this red button right here, it's going to change it to a red. But notice what happened. When it changed it to a red, this color changed to a green. So if I press this, you guessed it, it's going to change it green. If I press this, it's going to change it purple. It's going to change it yellow, blue, red. I think you get the idea. I can also go backwards through this list. I'm actually going through a list of colors. All right. So if I press this one, it's going to turn it blue, gold, purple, green, red, and it's going to keep on doing that cycle. So let's talk about colors as we dive into this application of the list global. Now, if you're just getting started with KLWP, please check out some of those videos I just mentioned. Those are older videos, but they still get the idea across. KLWP may look a little bit different with all the updates, but the basics behind the, if you want to call it programming or whatever, is essentially the same, I promise. Now here's a website, www.materialui.co/colors, and it's just a place you can go, find a color you like, you can click on it and you can copy it. So let's go ahead and look in KLWP and learn about all these various applications of the list global. Now this is going to be a component that'll be in my KLWP free stuff. It'll be in the free components folder. It'll be titled List Globals Colors, that component right there. Inside of this component, all I have is one global variable that's doing all of this stuff. It's doing the toggling and the color changing. All right. Now, before I dive into that list, let me just talk about colors real quick. I'm going to add a color global and I'm going to delete it right here in a second. If I open up to edit this color global, suppose I find a color over here on this website that I like. For example, suppose I want this blue right here. Now, this particular website, I can click on it. It'll copy a 6-character hex code, whereas in KLWP, we have 8 characters. I'll talk about that right here in a second. I'm going to paste that code in there, and there is that same blue that we have right here. Notice these characters and numbers here, 2196F3. If I start dragging on my transparency thing, the thing that controls, non-transparent, completely transparent, the only thing that's changing are the first 2 characters. It'll be either some numbers, some letters, or a combination of numbers and letters. But that's the only thing that's changing. The other part of the code is staying the same. So if you don't care about it being transparent, you can take away those first two characters and you will have a completely non-transparent color, which matches this over here perfectly. If you do want to use some transparency, then come in here, drag this thing around or whatever, but FF is completely non-transparent, 00 is completely transparent. So if you want to use that, bear that in mind. So go gather you some colors if you want to follow along in this tutorial, and now let's dive into it. So I don't need that global color anymore. Everything is getting handled inside of this list. What I have here is I've used that website I just showed you, and I found purple, gold, blue, red, and green. There are 5 colors here. This is the 8-digit hex code. I just put the FF in front of all of them. You do not have to do that. I just showed you that a moment ago. But what I want you to notice as well, inside of this thing that we're getting ready to put into a list, notice I have the hex code, I have 2 hashtags, and then I gave it a name, okay? This is good for being able to refer back to your list for names of things, especially if your actual item, the actual value of that item is something weird like a hex code. I don't know that that's purple, but look at my list over here. If I tap on my list, I have nice names and it's purple, gold, blue, red, green in that order. So once you get, this is how you can put things into a list. Put the value that you want your particular item to be, separate it with 2 hashtags, and then give it a name. Put a comma for your next item. This is the value I want. Double hashtag, I can give it a name. So on and so forth. Let me go edit this list real quick. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to come over here to the gold one, which should be my second item in my list, and I'm going to delete the word gold and the double hashtag. What that's going to do, if I click back on my list now, the word gold is gone, but it's returning the color code that we have there. It doesn't have the hashtag there, but it'll be fine. It still works okay. So I hope you do see what I'm saying there. You know, using the double hashtag after you give the value to an item, give it a name that you can easily refer back to. So I'm going to go back into this list, I'm going to edit it, and I'm going to make sure I put that gold back in there. All right, so now the word gold is back. So that's the only global we need to take care of this. If I go into my items inside of that list globals colors component, I'm going to go to my stack group, which is just a horizontally centered stack group. I have the font icon here, that's a toggle. I have the square, which is that, and then I have another font icon over here to the right. Let's just go to the square real quick. I'm gonna go to its paint, and for its color, I'm not applying the global icon, the global color. I'm actually using the calculator tool here, and inside of that calculator, I have it set to GV colors. So whatever item I pick on my list, that's what's going to get assigned. So right now, FF9575CD, that's the first one, that's purple. Technically it has an index of 0. I'm going to come back and talk about that right here in a minute. Now, there's nothing special about that because I can still go to my component, I can go to my globals, I can set this to a blue, and now I should see a blue there based on how I named my item. That hex code there, that 8-digit one, is a blue. As you can see, it's blue over here. So going back to that square, to its paint again, GV colors, it is matching up there just fine. So that's the same hex code we have right there. What's important or what's different about this is the way that we're going to toggle through this and the way these colors change on these font icons. So let's talk about these font icons real quick. This one right here, I have it set to touch. I'm toggling the only global that I have in this component called colors, and I have it set to previous value. So what should be happening here, now I haven't showed you how to set up this color code for this one or this one yet, but if I'm going to previous value and I'm currently on gold, this should be gold, then it should be purple, then it's going to toggle back around or loop around this way to green. Now this button should turn red, blue, gold, purple, etc. So you can see how it's kind of looping through that list and showing me the next or the previous color or whatever order you may choose to go. I chose previous here. Now, very similar over here on the right hand side, this font icon, I have its touch toggling the only global that I have in my component, but I have it set to next value. So if I see a red right here, I know that this is going to be red next, but the next color I should see on this button is going to be a green. That's the next one on my list. And as you can see, this button is changing to a green. If I press it again, it's going to loop this way back up to purple, which is exactly what it did right there. So that's how all that stuff works. Now, let's talk a little bit before I show you here's the color code. I got to talk about it though if you really want to understand what's going on with this thing. But that's the color code for that left toggle button. What in the heck does all this stuff mean? We got GV colors popping up all over the place, but maybe you have not messed around with the 2 numbers that come after that global variable name. That's what I want to talk about a little bit for the remainder of this tutorial. I'll come back to this code right here in a second, but for now, I'm going to just delete all of this. And I do have this code stored in my favorites, just in case I want to refer back to it. So let's look at GV colors. What do we have right now? FF81C784, that is this green one. All right, now let's come in here, and if you put your cursor inside of this global, we can assign a default color and an index color. Let me talk about this. This is why I have these indexes over here. So I'm going to put comma 1, comma 0. Now, here's what it's going to return. If there is an item in your list that has an index, notice here, the last digit here, if there's an item in our list that has an index of 0, it's going to return that value. So look at this hex code, notice it matches my index of 0. If I type in a 1, it's going to return the one with the index of 1. Boom. If I type in a 2, it's going to return the one with the index of 2. All right, so if I type in a 3, let's just keep on going with this. Notice that one matches my index of 3. And then last but not least, I have a 4. That's returning an index of 4. What's going to happen if we type in a 5? We don't have an index of 5. The way I would like this to work, and it seems like it would make sense to me, is this default here, an optional default to return if global is not found. There's not an index of 5, so I would like for it to return, you know, this FFFFEE58. It's not. The thing is, I just know in the back of my head, hey, I don't have an index of 5. As a matter of fact, if I keep on going 6, 7, 8, if I go to 800, it's still going to return the last item in my list. That's how I see that. Is the default very helpful to me? I have not used it. You probably can find some application for it. But anyway, what I want to get across to you here is this. The first item in your list has an index of 0. The second one has an index of 1. The third one has an index of 2, and so forth. Since I have 5 items in my list, my highest index is 4. All right. Now let's bring back up that code. So here's my GV colors code. What in the heck does this mean? Well, let's take note of what button I'm on. I'm on this button here, so I want to go backwards. I want to go 0, 4, 3, 2, 1, based on whatever color I'm seeing here. So right now I'm seeing green. Therefore, if I want to go back to the previous one, I want to go to a red. That's why we see a red on this button. This code using those indexes will do just that. If our current color is purple, look at this right here. GV colors, don't worry about the 1, but the 0, the index of 0. So if my current color is the index of 0, if it's purple, then I want my button to be the index of 4. I want to see the green. That's the one that would loop back around if I'm going to the left, if I'm going backwards through my list. Well, if that's not the case, what if GV colors is equal to my 4th index? What if that center square is green? Therefore, I want to see the red on my left toggle button. Notice I'm going to return GV colors, the index of 3. I'm going to return the red color. You see the pattern here? Well, what if the center square is red? Then I want to return, well, what's before red? The blue. The blue has an index of 2. So if my color is red, because that's at the index of 3, I want to return the index of 2, which is going to be the blue. And this pattern continues on all the way down here to the end, where if GV colors is my second index, blue, then I want to return my index of 1, which is gold. And then this last piece here, otherwise, for any other condition, that's going to basically mean when GV colors is equal to the 1 index spot. Notice I don't have a GV equals GV with an index of 1 anywhere. Equals GV index with a 4, GV with an index of 3, equals a GV with an index of 2. I don't have one where it's equal to 1. There's no need to type in that extra line. You can just do this thing here. Otherwise, return all that. That's a long nested if statement, and I'm going backwards through my list. I know that's kind of crazy, but here's the other one over here. If I go to its paint, and underneath here, I'm just going forward through it. So if my GV color, if the square color in the center, if the center square is index of 0, so if the center square is purple, I want to see the next color in my list, because that right toggle button is going to show me the next color in my list. Notice it is going to return GV colors with the index of 1. That's going to show me the next one. Well, what if the center square is the gold color, the index of 1? Then I want to see the next one in my list. That's going to be 2. Boom. then we have a 3, then we have a 4, and then we have the thing that can take care of it all if none of those conditions are met. Obviously, that means we're going to be going back to the beginning of our list, back to 0. I hope that makes sense there. I know that's tricky, but a big, long nested if statement. That's why I told you to watch the first list global tutorials I done a while back, the older videos, before you dove into this one if you're just getting started with KLWP. But you know, one application, are you really going to probably use this? Maybe, maybe not, I don't know. It definitely does save some real estate on your globals. I mean, all I have is one global and I'm technically cycling through 5 different colors and I'm toggling buttons all with this one piece here. And there you have it, another application to the list global. Hopefully this did give you some understanding of how the indexes work. That was my main goal here. Also, how to name your globals for easier reference. Instead of us having crazy hex codes in here, I easily know which color I am on based on the names that I gave them. And that's it for this video. I hope it helped.